Yo, what is up, guys? I am Josh, and this is hashtag Life Choices.
I am Anath. This is the podcast where we aim to help you make the best life choices.
I am David, here to welcome you to Movie Mondays.
Lastly, I am Lemuel, and this is our weekly segment where we talk in depth about movies. So we're going to talk about what's cool, what wasn't, and what we can learn.
And this week, Lemel will be taking the lead on our movie for the week. And Lemel, what is our movie for the week?
Yeah, our movie this week is The Greatest Showman. So I know this is an old movie. It came out in 2017.
It's not that old.
It's old to me. But the music from this movie is still being sang and played everywhere I go.
Yes.
Of course.
It's the new Frozen almost. Like when Frozen came out, everyone was singing Let It Go. But after this movie came out, I've heard the soundtrack sang in Christmas carols, in children's
I
karaoke.
hope it won't have the same effect like the songs on Frozen.
It's a really good soundtrack. Like when I first watched the movie, I had it on repeat in the car, in the shower. It's that good.
Yeah, and you know how movies with good soundtracks, you should have this one song that sticks to you. This one has multiple.
Yeah,
I
didn't have a single song stick to me. Yeah,
What?
It wasn't just one. Like, it was a lot.
It was
Yeah.
a lot of songs.
What's
that
your
stuck with
favorite
you.
song?
I like A Million Dreams and Tightrope.
You like Tightrope? A lot of people like
Really, I
this
like
song.
Tightrope so much.
Oh, what was the song in the bar?
No, the other
that
side.
one.
Yeah.
The other side.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
So we're kind of alienating Anath. You notice you're not hearing from him. That's
Yes.
because he hasn't watched the
Yes,
movie.
wow,
dare you.
What a loser. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I was supposed to, but then I had exams to study for.
It's
So I chose.
been
I made the
years.
So
right
listen, kids, exams
study.
first, but also
Okay,
realize it's been
alright.
out for years. So, Anath, what's your excuse?
Choose to delay.
I blame my friends for not going with me.
Why blame others?
Yeah, fine. Okay.
Fair enough,
bring you-
Anath. But you've at least heard some of the songs, I bet.
I think I have. Yes.
Okay.
At least one.
All right. So the soundtrack has been awarded at the Grammys, particularly the song This Is Me. And so I know we're talking so much about the songs because the songs are kind of integral to how the movie's plot progresses. Because for those of you who haven't watched the movie, don't worry, we won't spoil anything for you. It's okay, Anath. The thing is, though, that each of the songs are actually a part of the plot. They actually tell a story, and when you watch the movie, they're expressed as the characters are going through something on screen. So with that, I'd like to lead in with a quick summary of The Greatest Showman. So for those of you who aren't familiar, and for those of you who need a refresher, The Greatest Showman is a movie loosely based on the life of the late P.T. Barnum. So I say the late, but I think he died long ago.
Very, very late.
All right.
late.
The very, very late P.T. Barnum. And he's the guy who essentially founded the concept of a circus. So when you think of a circus today, a circus act, he was the one who conceptualized that. Before P.T. Barnum, that was unheard of. So The Greatest Showman is loosely based on his life. And it tells the story of how him, being a poor boy, struggled through life, went about his dream of becoming someone, and eventually coming to found the circus.
Yeah.
So coming to found
To create.
to create the
Come
circus.
to found.
It's weird to say.
It's a weird sentence.
So let me just run you through a quick summary. It also walks through how he got together a group of people who, for their unusual physical traits, were called freaks by the people around them in England. And he was able to band them together to create something that brought amazement and joy to the people watching, and simultaneously attaining a living for himself and his family. That's the general plot. It deals with a lot of ups and downs of his life and choices he makes. But one particular scene really resonated with me, and that was when he was recruiting these so-called freaks. Because you know how, well, you probably have some experience with people having unusual traits. Usually, they've been bullied a lot. And at the time P.T. Barnum approaches these people, they've already grown up and have this, I'd say, trauma of being unacceptable to society. So one of these people he approached is a vertically challenged guy by no fault of his own, of course, but genetics played some joke, maybe not a joke, but he got the wrong end of a stick, and he was born to have a very small height. And that progressed until he was old. So this person was mocked his whole life, and he didn't want to see any visitors because people who looked at him, wanted to see him, just wanted to laugh at him. So P.T. Barnum, played by Hugh Jackman, goes around trying to recruit these so-called freaks to feature in his show. And when he approached this kid, his caretaker, was it his mother, said he doesn't want to see many people. So P.T. Barnum insisted, and he got to meet the kid. And actually, he's the size of a kid, but he's a grown man. And essentially, his pitch to him was this: they're gonna laugh at you anyway, so why not join the circus? And of course, you
Make a living as well.
Yeah, you make a living out of it. But yeah, as you'd imagine, that hurt him, and he was shown the door. The man no longer responded to him. So on the way out, P.T. Barnum noticed a toy soldier on the ground, and the soldier his room was filled with military exploits, and so he picked up the soldier, and something flashed in his mind. He spoke to the kid again, and he said, "When I see you, I see a general riding on a white horse, fully equipped with the finest uniform, the most immaculate of clothes, leading an army. And when the people see you, they do not laugh, they salute." And the light just gleamed from his eyes of this is what he wanted all along, respect, despite of what he looked like. And that's the first thing I want to discuss with you guys. Sorry it took so long, but I wanted to know, what's one thing people around you need to hear? Because I know today we have a lot of people who I think need a word of encouragement. And as P.T. Barnum goes through all these different freaks, he kind of gives them all some encouragement. For instance, another woman, his daughters thought she was beautiful, even though she had a huge hair problem.
That made her look like a
that made
man.
her look like a man.
Yeah.
So what's something you think people around you need to hear today?
Yeah. I'll start. I'm reminded of, since we're using the term freaks, like I'm reminded of somebody who would be considered a freak in most people's eyes, and that's Nick Vujicic. If you guys haven't heard of him, he was a man that was born without limbs, and all he really had was a foot that looked like a chicken drumstick. That's really all he had. And he has this quote, and just think, this guy's life must have been really hard. No limbs, nothing. How, like, I don't even know how to live like that. But right now he's married, he has a kid. I don't know how old he is, but he's made it through what a lot of us are struggling with right now, despite his condition. And he says this one thing in his book, Life Without Limits, and he says, if you can't get a miracle, become one. So
Wow.
the encouragement I want to give to people is that sometimes there are things in your life that doesn't go well, and sometimes there are things in your life that make you seem like a freak. So it could have been, I guess, a birth defect or a deformity or something like that, or it could just be like you are emotionally damaged.
A general insecurity that
Yes,
you have.
or you could be emotionally damaged because of your upbringing. And while all those things sometimes seem so impossible to fix that you want a miracle for it to be fixed, instead of praying or like looking for a miracle, try to become one. Try to be a miracle to those people that are like you, that are also struggling with other things, because that takes your attention away from what you don't have and puts the attention towards what you have and what you could give towards other people. Because though you may not be whole in the sense that you don't have everything that I guess a normal human being has, there is something you have that other people don't have. And try to fill in that need. Try to be the miracle that they have been looking for. So say, for example, you were born with a birth defect and that made you look a certain way. But you still have time. Use that time to encourage someone who is struggling with their insecurities. And what better person to tell them about those things than somebody who's also looking for a miracle, who is also struggling. And little by little, this won't change your situation. It's not magical and suddenly your birth defect is gone. But it will take your perspective away from those things so that you won't be so consumed or wallow in self-pity, and rather it will be turned around to focus on the things you have and that you are blessed with.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. I was actually having a conversation with a couple of friends today about something similar. It wasn't birth defects or anything like that, but it was negative experiences that we've gone through.
Traumatic.
And, yeah, traumatic and just stupid things we've done in the past, right? And so my friends were joking, oh, you did blah, blah, blah. But I realized through that bringing that up was important because I went through an experience, a negative experience because of bad decisions I had made. But what is significant now is that by reflecting on those experiences, I am now able to help others in similar situations, right? So whether it be something you're born with, something you experience, something you're going through, like Josh said, we use those to be a miracle to others, right? We share the struggle with someone else, and that'll help build each other up. I've said this many times on the podcast that life isn't meant to be done on your own. It's a community effort, right?
It's true.
And at the same time, when we go through things that are challenging, when we have things that are challenging in our lives, we grow on those experiences to bless others.
I would also like to add to that, there's also this really good movie, if you guys know, if you've seen it already, The Lion King.
Yeah.
And there's this, The Lion King 3, to be exact.
Oh yeah, there's three.
I don't even remember which one is which. I just remember all three movies as a one
Lion
huge
King.
Lion King. Yeah.
And the monkey,
The baboon?
the baboon,
Or Rafiki?
Rafiki, I think,
Yeah.
he said this to Timon. He said, look beyond what you see. And that encourages Timon to really go look for his next home. But in this context, in the context of The Greatest Showman, I would like to encourage people to not look at the appearances, but look beyond what you see in front of you and look within the person. Because the problem with the people in The Greatest Showman is that they see a person who is not quote unquote normal to them, and so they automatically dispel them from their lives. And that's not really good because, as you can see, they've provided this sort of talent and entertainment that brings joy to the people. And it's only by Barnum, who looked beyond
Yeah.
what he saw, that he was able to bring this miracle to life.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. I was looking at the lyrics of This Is Me, which is basically like the...
That's the song that won the Grammy.
Yes, that's the song
Yeah.
that won the Grammy and kind of encapsulates the idea of what The Greatest Showman is trying to show. I'm not gonna sing it for the sake of everyone listening.
Oh, man, come
I
on.
pity your ears if you hear me sing. So I'm just going to read it. So it says there, when the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. And I love this message that though you may not be complete in one sense, though you may not be perfect in the sense that the world wants to look at you, this is who you are meant to be. I gave the example of Nick Vujicic earlier. He's a man without limbs, but his experience has blessed so many people because though he was not born complete like all of us, his life was meant to serve a certain purpose. He was who he was meant to be. And that's the encouragement I want to give. I want to echo what he said about look beyond what you can see. Look beyond what you can see. Look beyond what you don't seem to have and look at it as maybe this will serve a greater purpose in the future. Because for sure, I guarantee it, God made you that way. And there's a reason why he did so. And later, you may not see it now, but in the future, you will definitely see the reason as to why God made you that certain way. And I will throw one more quote from Nick Vujicic. And he says that I encourage you to accept that you may not be able to see a path right now, but that doesn't mean it's not there. So right now, you may not see the reason of your disability or what makes you a freak, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. Later on, I assure you, you will see it if you continually pursue being a miracle to other people.
And I just want to add to what Josh said. He brought up God. And, you know, to many of our listeners, God may not be part of your life. God may not be someone you believe in. But from my own personal experience, I have gone through phases in my life where I was bullied and roasted for physical appearance. So I used to have really bad acne. That was something my friends made fun of a lot. But one thing that helped me get through it was knowing that I was loved by God.
Yeah.
The love of God is something that really encompasses you and changes you completely. And your life will never be the same when you experience this love. Though I was roasted to this extent, none of it really affected me because I knew I was loved by God. And I didn't need the love of other people to feel fulfilled or completed because God was enough for me. And so that really changed my life, and God's love continues to change my life because it's infinite and it's continuing to grow in my life. And as a result, there's no need to be affected by what other people say. You may be called a freak, but in God's eyes, you are loved and you are created in his image. And knowing that and experiencing that and seeking after that love can really change your life.
That's a message I think a lot of people need to hear, especially
Yes.
in today's day where social media can bring forth a whole ocean of insecurities.
And so I also want to bring up this very beautiful song that I love, and it's called Who Am I by Casting Crowns. Because Josh mentioned about flood, and that reminded me of waves. And there's a line in this song that says, I'm like a wave tossed in the ocean. And there's also another line that says, I am a flower quickly fading. It's as if no one can hear me. I added that out. And sometimes we feel like this, but then that someone greater just gets you out of that flood, faces that wave and that giant in your life, and just makes you feel accepted.
Yeah. In terms of insecurities, a lot of my early childhood was also the same. And what kind of got me through was knowing that, hey, you know what? My family still thinks I'm a pretty decent person.
We think you're a pretty decent
Thank
person.
you, guys. You're my family. And I think as well that a lot of these things, what do you call this, are drowned out by a greater anchor of identity. If a child knows that they are loved, if a child knows that they're created to be, or they're deemed as a treasure, then they will have that armor that can't be penetrated by the sharpest words and the swords that This Is Me, the song spoke about.
So thank you guys for sharing all those encouragements. This is something that people really need to hear, because this world of social media, we see the kind of lives that the other people have. We compare ourselves that, oh, I'm not like that person. I don't look like that person. I don't have what that person has. But again and again, we want to reiterate to you, your identity matters. Not only in how you project yourself, but basically who you are and whose you are. And we kept saying that God is the source of that identity. He is our anchor, because to us, the four of us here, He is where we find our security. And I just want to recap through the words of encouragement that we wanted to tell people who think that they're freaks or not good enough. So first is, be a miracle to other people. Try not to ponder on the things you don't have. Try not to ponder on the miracle you're waiting to happen, and start being that miracle to other people. Second is, use your experiences to bless other people. So you may not be a freak in the sense that you have physical deformities, but you may seem like a freak because of struggles that you had in life, emotional baggage, damage that has been caused again and again by different people, places, and things. But use those experiences to bless other people. Tell them, I made it through those situations. I am here right now in front of you. And if I made it, you can make it too. Third thing is, drown out the words. Try to replace those words with good things. Surround yourself with people who will build you up. Like P.T. Barnum, he encouraged this vertically challenged person and told him the things that he could be, not the person that he is. Drown out those words. If you're like us, we believe in reading the Bible. So read the Bible. Remind yourself of who God believes you to be and who God is telling you that He made you as. And use those words so that you can make it through these insecurities. And lastly, we just want to remind you that God loves you. He created you for a purpose. And right now, it may not seem so clear why He created you with these deformities, but we believe that this will always serve a greater purpose. And ultimately, you will see it, but maybe not right now, a few years down the line. Just like Nick Vujicic, there was a point in his life he wanted to kill himself because of how difficult it was not having limbs. He tried to kill himself, but instead he just floated on the water. He tried drowning, and that's because God still had a purpose for his life, and now his life has served as an inspiration to people around the world, and hopefully your life will be too. So that is the end of our podcast. We just want to thank our sponsors. We don't have any sponsors, but if you guys
Still
want
none.
to support us, we actually just launched our Patreon page, so
Yeah.
you could support us on Patreon. So how Patreon
Please
works,
do.
you can contribute a monthly amount that you want to help, if you want to help Life Choices. So the Patreon page is patreon.com/lifechoicesph. So if you have a business and you want to advertise or you want to sponsor our podcast, you just have to send us an email at lifechoicesph@gmail.com. And at this point in time, we just want to thank you for listening to our podcast. Hope to see you again this Thursday for Table Talk Thursdays. But before we go, we just want to remind you, in this life, we have no choice but to make choices.
So choose wisely.
See you in the next podcast.